Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is another diamond paint with me while I continue working on Treasure Studios art Maleficent. I almost said Cherry Blossom. Maleficent by Lizzie Falcon. It's gonna give me I'm gonna need some time to get in the habit of saying Maleficent because I've said Cherry Blossom for so many months, right? And I have Cherry Blossom out there on my crafting table because I'm waiting for the frame. And instead of hanging it up in my closet, which is what I usually do, I said, I'm just going to leave it out there. So every time I walk out there, I get to see it. And yeah, Maleficent is going to look fantastic. Now, someone had mentioned that why couldn't I take some of those sticky pads that you use to stick your tray to the diamond painting? Why couldn't I cut that into strips and put that along the outside of the light pad? That is a really good idea. So I may try that. However, I did get the Velcro in yesterday and so far it's working. So we'll see. We will see. But yeah, the strips may come in handy only because you can easily move them. Yeah. Okay. So yesterday we had a job and the day went well. No problems. I was actually I had some breaks throughout the day, so I was able to get some stuff done. And a couple of you, someone emailed me and then a couple people had posted in my Instagram post. I decided because in YouTube Studio, where you get to see all of your comments, old comments were popping up. So I decided to go through and click the heart to every comment that I had not done so. So it's taken me a couple weeks to do that because I really went gangbusters yesterday. I really did a lot yesterday and I got through them all. And it's so nice to be able to go in there and just see no comments that I need to respond to. And I even went through all of the ones that are held for review and approved ones that were actual comments and not spam or something horrible. You know what I mean? So if you received a like from me from something you commented on my channel 4 and 5 years ago, that's why. So yeah, I just decided to go ahead and do that just to say thank you, to everyone who, has been a part of my channel in these 5 years. I know there's a lot of people that, in the beginning when floss tube and the cross stitch videos were really popular, there's a lot of people that just don't watch my videos anymore, and that's okay. I mean, everyone's taste change. You get tired of watching somebody. But I had Ginger Gerald Stitcher. He is a friend, and I met him in person once. Absolutely love him. And I'm telling you, his Henry cross-stitch piece that he did is probably my favorite cross-stitch piece I've ever seen completed. And yeah, it's going to be hard to top that one. I mean, King Henry, you should see it. It's amazing. And he sent me a message on Instagram and was like, I received an email notification from you that you liked one of my comments. And he was like, how have you been? Because, with the pandemic and everything going on, I mean, a lot of people just lose touch. And there's so many people now that have floss tube videos and channels. It's really hard to keep up. So yeah, it was nice to touch base with him again. And sadly, he is not going to the floss tube retreat next July. But it was good to chat with him and see how he was, because he is an educator. So, he is in the trenches with trying to teach kids, and it's challenging. And absolutely, I give teachers all the credit. So got through the workday, and my workday was done at about 3:45. So not too bad, except when this job was remote. So when my boss is remote, the attorney that is doing the deposition has to either upload exhibits to the company's portal that we work for, or they have to email them to my boss. And I'm the one that handles all of that. So I always listen at the very end of the job because that is when those details are usually sussed out. So, the attorney was like, I'll email you the exhibits as soon as we're done here. Well, of course, that didn't happen because I was in here stitching last night and I checked her email all the way up till like 10:30 at night and no exhibits had come through. So I texted her and I said, look, am I permitted to email this attorney directly as you to ask for these exhibits? I know how to word an email like that because I've done it before. Well, I woke up this morning and I was like, okay, I'm not working today or tomorrow, but I woke up this morning, I was like, I'll deal with it this morning. And I had not received a response from her. So I told my husband, I said, I'm just going to email the attorney because I have to get the exhibits. They have to be uploaded to our work website so the proofreader can have access to them. And then I need to upload them to the portal that the company we work for. And it was so funny because I get off the phone with my husband and I'm starting to compose the email when the attorney sends her the exhibits. I busted out laughing. It was like such perfect timing in that literally as I was typing the email out, he sent the exhibits. So I was able to take care of that and that was good. And really, that's the only thing that's like outstanding. Today is payday for us, so I process everyone's invoices and do the payment. So I went ahead and took care of that early this morning, and that's all done. And then I was on the phone with my mom for a good while. Luckily, she calls and says, do you have a minute? And I'm like, yeah, because, I wasn't working, and I was just sitting here doing our banking and things like that. And so we chatted for a good long while just about them and my sister and just everybody. And I wouldn't say it was a good hour. Yeah. That I was on the phone and yeah, but it was good to chat, good to catch up and see what's going on. And good news last night, Bill's sister opened her eyes. So she is technically awake. She could squeeze someone's hand and she could raise her eyebrows on command. So that is all fantastic. She still has a long recovery ahead of her. She is going to have to go into a long-term, like rehab center. So as soon as she is moved out of the ICU and can receive like regular visitors, Bill and his daughter are going to make a trip to Nashville. And he's going to rent a car and they're going to drive. And it's going to be, I heard him on the phone yesterday that they're going to do it over a weekend, like leave Friday morning, get there Friday night, have the all day Saturday, and then, leave out, come home Sunday. So just enough to see her and visit and then get everybody back to work and all of that. So hopefully that will be able to happen for them soon. Yeah, so all of that is really good news though. And, it just makes you appreciate every single second that you have, right? So I was just around here doing house stuff and all of that. And yeah, I stitched last night, worked some more on my Phoenix piece, and I'm almost to the end of the first page. I don't have very much more, and I will have a page finish. 1 page out of 9. It is 6 full pages, I think. And then the last 3 pages are only like parts of pages. So still a long way to go, but I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying stitching on the piece. And what was the movie I watched last night? Oh, it had Bella Thorne in it. Yeah. And like I said, it was on, I want to say it was on Netflix and it was called You Get Me. So like these kids in high school and yeah. It wasn't that good, but it was something to pass the time while I was sitting there. I need to start watching the new season of The Sinner. I did watch, because before that movie, I watched the most current episode of Dope Sick. Absolutely love that series on Hulu. It is heartbreaking. It is truly, truly heartbreaking. I have not had someone close to me fight drug addiction, but it is, Michael Keaton's character breaks my heart. Like, it is just, you see how people have gotten addicted to this drug. You really, everyone in there is fantastic. It's so well done, I think. I don't know how many episodes total there are, but I absolutely love it. Love, love, love. So if you can handle watching something like that, I highly recommend that you watch it. Michael Keaton is just phenomenal in it. So yeah, I stitched last night And then my habit has been I'll stitch up here for a little while, usually till about 10 or 10:30, go downstairs, and then I'll read my book for like half an hour. And I've been trying to get to bed like 11. And the book is really good that I'm reading, Such a Perfect Wife. I only have like 50 pages left, so I'm getting close to like deciphering who is the killer. That's, yeah. But yeah, so we are having pancakes for dinner tonight. And that's the question of the day. Like, what are we having for dinner? Dinner last night wasn't so great. We had Nathan's hot dogs and we had baked potato. I love the baked potato. The hot dog, however, they're too salty for me. So I only ate like 2 bites and Bill felt really bad. And I said, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. But tonight we're having pancakes and bacon and eggs and so like breakfast. And yeah, we're really trying to not spend so much money eating out because even for 2 people, it can be kind of ridiculous. And so we have done very well with that lately. So yeah, pancakes, bacon, eggs. Okay, so today's story, in light of Halloween on Sunday, this one is called Doorway to Hell. So a group of 9 teenagers entered a theme park horror attraction, but only one would come out alive, and the rest were burned so badly they were mistaken for mannequins. Holy shit. So, there's no more exciting attraction at an adventure park than a haunted house. Let me tell you a little story before I get into this. So, many, many years ago, when my stepdaughter was, I want to say, 10 or 11, something like that, we took her and her stepsister, who is 3 years older than her, 4 years older. I think she's 4 years older. Anyway, we took them to Field of Screams, which tickets weren't cheap. It was a little bit of a drive where it's like 2 haunted houses, a hayride, all kinds of stuff. Now, I have fond memories of when I was a kid. My aunt that passed 5 years ago took me and my brother to haunted houses every single year. We absolutely loved them. And so we did this, and everyone is a big fat scaredy cat. And I remember, I wasn't scared. I was more scared in the haunted house ride at Ocean City this past September with the real people in it than I was in this haunted house. And I don't know why. Like, the things just didn't really scare me, but Jesus, it scared. Like, everyone was clutching me, pulling on my hoodie. I'm like, get off of me. You wanted to come in here. You wanted to come in this. So we didn't go back after that year because it was so much money. I want to say it was at least $30 a ticket. So it cost us over $100 just to get into this thing. And of course, everybody wants food and no. But yeah, I have fond memories of being a kid and my aunt taking us to haunted houses when, you stood outside, like the JCs. That was a group that put on these haunted houses. We loved them. Yeah. It's become much more commercialized now. Anyway, there's no more exciting attraction at an adventure park than a haunted house. For Six Flags Great Adventure Amusement Park in Jackson Township, New Jersey in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the Haunted Castle attraction proved so popular they decided to renew its lease. Hadn't heard of that. For thrill seekers and adventure lovers alike, Haunted Castle was number 1 on the list of destinations at the theme park. It had been built out of trailers and containers with a control room trailer in the middle of the layout. Wooden partitions between the trailers had been created to link them and add to the effect of the maze within. The outside of the attraction had been designed to look like a medieval castle, with turrets along with a makeshift moat to tempt visitors over the bridge. Unlike many horror attractions today, Haunted Castle was a walkthrough attraction where visitors had to feel their way around the 140-meter dimly lit corridors. And I remember this one haunted house that my aunt took us to. When you were outside and you were getting ready to go in, they tied a rope around your waist. Yes! and they had someone that led 8 people through. I mean, you couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. Imagine, yeah, a rope tied around your waist so you don't fucking get lost in this haunted house. Okay. The thrill was in the threat of actors jumping out at them in any given moment dressed as ghouls, monsters, and killers. At various intervals throughout the walk, there were scenes of famous horror monsters and events being acted out either with static displays and props, or in some cases, the actors. For one group of 9 teenagers who entered the haunted castle on May 11th, 1984, only one would come out alive. When the Great Adventure Park was at its peak, the haunted castle attraction was open from both sides to get more people through the doors and speed up the queues. After queuing, visitors were let through the metal gates, where they would walk over the mock drawbridge and be beckoned into the attraction itself by an actor dressed as a ghoulish gatekeeper. Probably like the Crypt Keeper, right? From Tales from the Crypt. It was at the time the park's most popular attraction, bolstered by its use of live actors and eerie setting. Thousands could be seen queuing up to enter, and the park kept the attraction open long into the night. Thousands? Good God. At 6:30 p.m. on that fateful evening, 14-year-old Suzette Elliott and her best friend Tina Genovese went into the attraction as part of a group of 9. They were on a school trip that had arrived at the park earlier in the day on a school bus with others from their class. While at the park, they met 17-year-old Joseph Beiruti and 18-year-old Nicola Keza. Together, the 4 of them were joined with a group of 5 Hispanic boys that they hadn't met before. The group of 9 were then ushered through the gates and beckoned in by the gatekeeper. The moment they entered, Suzette said she and her 3 friends had linked arms because it was so dark inside. After a short moment, in a dimly lit passageway, a man dressed as the hunchback of Notre Dame jumped out and scared them. Unbeknownst to the group of friends, there were a total of 29 people inside the attraction, some in front nearing the end of their tour and some entering from the other side. This included the 4 employees who were there to scare the visitors. The group of 9 thought it may have been a fun idea to hide near to where the hunchback had jumped out so they could all scare the next group that came through. Just a couple of minutes later, the group heard someone shouting in the distance that there was a fire. Can you imagine the pandemonium that would ensue? Thinking it to be part of the attraction, the group remained in place. Oh my friggin' God. But immediately, smoke began to roll down the makeshift passageways, and the 9 teenagers realized the truth, that there was a real fire ripping through the haunted castle, and the group of 9 were trapped in the darkness. Oh my God. While the group of 9 were trapped near the hunchback display, another group had entered behind him. A young girl from that group saw bright flames pouring out the walls ahead of them, and she screamed at her group to run back the way they had come. They were able to escape by bouncing off the walls and climbing over one another to reach the exit. But for the 9 in the middle of the attraction, their fate had been sealed. Suzette fumbled around in the smoky darkness and felt people clambering and bumping into her in a frenzy to get out, I can imagine. She later testified that the Hispanic boys shouted out that they should hide in one of the displays. As the flames grew, Suzette was already lost and couldn't go back to hide with the others. She stumbled through the darkness, but the smoke inhalation was overcoming her, and she dropped to her knees, gasping for breath. Accepting there was no way out, she fell to the ground. Fortunately for Suzette, a park employee named Gary Caplow had ventured into the burning building and came across her on the floor of the attraction. He lifted her up and carried her out to safety. He had entered the attraction on orders from security to make sure everyone was out. Firefighters from 11 surrounding townships arrived at the scene almost immediately. It took an hour to put out the fire, which was deemed under control at 7:45 p.m., and astonishingly, the park remained open during the time of the fire. What? Some of the injured from both sides had suffered smoke inhalation, including Suzette, who was taken to the hospital. 7 people had been injured, but at the time, no one was presumed dead. Even Suzette believed that her friends had made it out and were maybe being treated in other wards. After an hour, firefighters were able to search the remains for the cause of the fire, but they came across a group of unusual-looking mannequins in a display area. For at least half an hour after the fire had been put out, it was believed the mannequins were part of the display. Jesus Christ. Wow. Upon closer inspection, they shockingly realized the mannequins were in fact human bodies. 17-year-old Joseph was further away from the group and close to the exit, but the other 7 were found within feet of each other, near to the location where Suzette claimed they would have hidden. The bodies were so severely burned that investigators at the scene had to use white body bags to help emergency personnel sort the real mannequins from the human bodies. Oh my God. Later investigation discovered they had all died from smoke inhalation and carbon monoxide poisoning. As the dust settled, the anger and the legal proceedings began. I bet it did. Six Flags Great Adventure and its parent company Six Flags, along with the builder of the original attraction, were put on trial on charges of manslaughter. Fire inspectors from the Jackson Township claimed they had never inspected the haunted castle, as Six Flags had told them it was a temporary structure. Though they had recommended to the park they install sprinklers, smoke alarms, and fire alarms, they never had. Representatives of Six Flags claimed they were not guilty because the cause of the fire was in fact arson. Really? The jury believed them and they were found not guilty of manslaughter. This was despite the haunted castle having no building permit, no certificate of occupancy, and had refused safety recommendations from the parent company's own consultants. 8 days after the fire, a 13-year-old boy came forward and reported that he was with someone who may have caused the fire. He said that an older boy offered to take him and his group around the haunted castle as he knew the way. The older boy had used his cigarette lighter to guide the way down a length of the corridor through a section where the strobe light had broken. He tripped and bumped into one of the walls, accidentally setting light to a foam wall pad. The older boy has never been identified nor sought for criminal wrongdoing. Well, obviously that was an accident, right? But wouldn't you have told somebody? During the trial of Six Flags, a forensic pathologist said that arson was a probable cause due to high levels of benzene in the victims' bodies. Benzene is a now banned chemical that was used in glue and paint strippers, among other dangerous products. Another pathologist claimed there was no evidence of an accelerant. Well, someone's lying then. 2 executives of the park were later charged with manslaughter, but they avoided any trial due to a plea deal that involved community service. In 1985, families of the 8 victims sued the state of New Jersey and the New York City Board of Education, among others, and settled out of court for $2.5 million each. Holy hell. One of the families took it to court and were awarded $750,000. Yeah, remember, these kids were on a school trip. Yeah. Unsurprisingly, attendance at the Great Adventure Park dropped by at least 15% in the months that followed, and it suffered huge losses until 1992, when Time Warner purchased Six Flags and went on to manage the parks. Rides and attractions across New Jersey that were designed to intentionally disorient visitors were shut down pending investigation. Yeah. But the story didn't end there, and speculation over what really happened was beginning to filter through to the public. This led to an independent documentary in 2003 called Doorway to Hell: The Mystery and Controversy Surrounding the Fire at the Haunted Castle. Have any of you seen that? The writer and filmmaker Peter James Smith proposed an alternative theory made popular by Six Flags' refusal to comment on the findings. Smith claimed that the trial was fixed in order for the park to continue operating, as it was and still is a huge source of revenue for the local area, with an estimated 3 million visitors a year. The diagrams used in the trial were old and inaccurate and didn't correctly show the metal fence layout that would have stopped people escaping a fire. Wow. The old diagrams, along with the suggestion that exit doors had been chained shut. What? So the exit doors had been chained shut, as witnessed on the day, were rubbished by the park and dismissed by authorities. However, Smith managed to interview previous employees who claimed that doors were locked shut for the security of the actors and for stopping visitors getting in through the doors. Okay, but stories began to emerge of a suspected arsonist who had been arrested by police but not charged. It was claimed that an emotionally disturbed youth with a history of setting fires was seen near the attraction, playing with a cigarette lighter in his pocket and sparking it up in quick succession. Shortly after the fire began, the youth was seen exiting the attraction alone with his hands in his pockets. The youth was questioned by police but ultimately let go on a lack of evidence. The records showed that the youth was investigated, but this was not made public at the trial of Six Flags. Was the burning of the haunted castle arson after all, or was it a truly terrible accident that continues to be talked about to this day? It took the deaths of 8 teenagers for new fire safety laws to be passed specifically for amusement park funhouses and dark rides. To this day, what truly happened in the corridors of the haunted castle is lost in the ashes that it crashed down upon. So they don't really know. I mean, wow, that's awful though. Imagine just... I do remember when we went, because when Bill's daughter was a lot younger, we would go to Ocean City once a year in the summer for a week. And they have like, at the end of the boardwalk, they have like another little section that's sort of like a small amusement park. And they had a haunted house ride on there that you sat in this car. The ride broke down in the middle of it and we had to climb out of the car and climb down the tracks to get out of it. Yeah, we never went on that again. But yeah, that stuff can be very, very scary when something breaks down or something goes wrong. And yeah, I mean, it had to have been pandemonium for them, all those people trying to get out, the 29 people trying to get out of there at that time. So that's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Okay, so today's reading for the Daily Stoic is called The Best Way to Arm Yourself. So perhaps you remember the final scene of the movie Gladiator. If you have not seen Gladiator, yes, it's a 3-hour movie, but oh my God, so good. It makes me want to watch it again. Russell Crowe, fantastic. Joaquin Phoenix, fantastic. Okay, so in the final scene of the movie Gladiator, Maximus is wounded severely and is fighting against Commodus. I know I said his name wrong yesterday. I said Commodus. Why the fuck did I say that? It's Commodus. Commodus, who he has just temporarily disarmed. Sword, Commodus shouts to the guards, sword, but the soldiers refuse to help him. Because people came to like Maximus. They really did. So Maximus, bleeding badly, drops his sword and begins to drift into unconsciousness. His family is waiting for him in the afterlife. He walks towards them, but with a final exercise of will, he seizes command of himself. And Commodus comes at him with a dagger. With his bare hands and faltering strength, Maximus fights Commodus to submission and then kills him as Commodus impotently struggles against the very weapon he tried to wield. Victorious but dying, Maximus uses his last breaths to order Rome to be restored to the vision of Marcus Aurelius. It's a fictional scene, a goosebump-inducing one to be sure, but also in its own way, an illustration of one of the best passages in Meditations. Be a boxer, not a fencer, Marcus writes to himself. It's better to have your weapons be a natural part of you than to be something you have to pick up. Commodus is dependent on his sword. He's dependent on the power of his office. He's dependent on fear. He's at the mercy of his bodyguards. But Maximus? Maximus is his own master. He moves under his own power. He is ruled by dignity, by his own strength, by his own principles, and his own weapons. He doesn't need anyone or anything to be great. Even when he is bleeding out and under attack, all he has to do, as Marcus Aurelius writes, is clench his fist. So, which are you? Commodus or Maximus? Self-reliant or an imposter? A tyrant or a gladiator? A boxer or a fencer? If you're being truly honest, what would your final exercise of will look like? So, you would hope that we would all be Maximus, right? Because if you've seen the movie, you hate Commodus. You hate Joaquin Phoenix's character. You love Maximus. He is the underdog and he comes out fighting because what happens to his family and himself is horrible. Such a good movie though. Well worth watching. I have seen it numerous times. Many times. So, I hope you all are having a fantastic Thursday. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.